Hey, ladies. um, I'm pissed, and I'm sure you know why, because of the title of this video. Yes, I've been lied to, hoodwinked, and bamboozled. So, yesterday I posted a video about my consult with my RE. And sorry, I'm trying to get ready for hair appointments, which means I have to take this hair out. Uh, so I'm unbraiding while I'm telling this story because I gotta leave for this appointment pretty soon. So, okay, let me give you the chronological play-by-play on this. I, told you about my appointment, the things I wanted to talk to the RE about, and his response to that, all in my previous video, right? So I was sort of going over these things and the things that I was, because I'm not really buying the BMI 35, under 35 for sedation in an outpatient setting. Although I did find an abstract um, from the anesthesia, I guess the ASA, which is the I think this is the I can't. It's like the anesthesiologist association or something, right? So there is a guideline basically that said that anesthesiologists or ambulatory centers or outpatient centers, um, it's not recommended that they accept patients with BMIs over 35. However, other information is basically saying that you shouldn't, accept or not accept a patient on BMI alone. But then there are also other studies that indicate that there are people with BMIs over 50 that are having procedures done in these ambulatory centers or outpatient centers. So, if that's the case, this here thing that my RE said is a crack of bull crap. Um, so, just my feelings on that uh, are starting to prove to be true. Although a lot of these articles and things are from, some years ago, so it's quite possible that things have changed. I'm still on the hunt for more solid proof that I can indeed get sedation without being under a BMI of 35. Don't get me wrong, I am still going to focus on my weight during this next time, but I don't want to have to do local anesthesia if I don't have to. Anyway, in having that discussion with a friend of mine, it dawned on me that, I had been told by the office that my pre-auth had not yet come back, and that they didn't know. And, I'm kind of going over the play-by-play of what happened in the office, and I pretty much came to the conclusion that they probably had that approval and didn't tell me. They were bamboozling me. And there is evidence to support that in the way that things went down for that office visit. And but the main thing that drew me to that conclusion is the fact that my RE, despite my weight not being there, and oh, by the way, I have to lose 40 additional pounds, not 35, 40 additional pounds. I have to get down to 205 to get my BMI under 35. Okay, so that's 40 additional pounds in 3 months, which is totally doable, but it's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask. So, um, what I found odd about this situation is I got to lose all this extra weight. But the doctor seemed to be more along the lines of making plans for May. Um, and I said, you know what? It just seems like he's stalling and he's trying to give me an excuse to drop more weight. So he's pushed me off. I said, I wouldn't be surprised if my pre-auth has come back and he already knows that it's approved by insurance and he's just looking for a way to get me to drop more weight now that he knows that I know how to lose weight, right? And and my friend was like, I think you already know that that came back and you just need to find out if it did or not and prove it. So, because it last year when I was trying to be in his November cycle and then he was pushing me off to his January cycle, um, he basically said that as far as IVF was concerned, the only things that I had not done yet was my infectious disease testing, which he wrote that blood work order, and the endometrial cavity check, which he scheduled for next week, right? That's the hysteroscopy that I was talking about in the last video. So, if you think about it, I gotta lose 40 more pounds. Why even bother scheduling these things? Um, you didn't bother to schedule them last year when we were looking to do things in January. So why that's what gave me it was kind of like, well, at least he's moving forward. That was my initial impression. But now it's just like, well, why is he moving forward now but he wasn't moving forward before? I think that pre-auth came back. So now let me go through the blow by blow. So I walk into the office. It's a small office. There was nobody at the in the lobby and in the front desk, right? So no receptionist, no nurse, no nothing. So I walked in. I could hear them talking in the back hallway, and the door closed behind me. And someone said, "Oh, that must be Tamika, right?" So maybe they were having a discussion about me. Okay. Okay, I don't know that for sure, but I'm thinking probably. So the receptionist is brand new. I believe I mentioned in the past that he's had some issues um, keeping receptionists. So she comes in and she goes, "Oh, well, you must be Miss Tamika." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I'm Miss Tamika." She goes, "Okay, um, you know, uh, Anise will be out. That's the nurse. She'll be out soon." Okay, fine. So I'm just sitting here, and then I pull out my card to pay, whatever I was going to pay. Like I said, I was expecting this consult to cost me about $150. And the receptionist tells me that I have some sort of credit on my account and that they're going to use that to pay for this visit. That's funny. Credit? Credit from where? I mean, where did credit come from? If pre-auth hasn't come back, I would expect this consult to cost full price, right? $150. What kind of credit would have covered this particular visit, right? Um, if my pre-auth has not come back. Oh, wait. You know what? Let me go back even further than that. So when I called on cycle day 1, that was January 30th. Okay, I called to make the appointment. I talked to the nurse. And she's like, "Okay, so what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I want to talk to him about IVF and next steps. I want to consult no matter what." And she's like, "Okay." I said, "But I think I need a break. But I just want to see what his thoughts are, and and all of that." So then she offered, "Well, the pre-auth hasn't even come back yet." I'm like, "Wow, it hasn't come back yet already? I mean, it's been over 2 weeks." She says, "No, no, it hasn't come back." And she says, "Well, what I do know is that they rejected the cryopreservation." So first thought on this is, well, my initial thought is, oh, okay, I knew they weren't going to accept that. That's on the list of exclusions or whatever, right? And so I'm just thinking, so now that I'm thinking of it all, it's just like, how would you know what they rejected and not know what they accepted? That's interesting. Okay. That was January 30th. Okay. So then I'm in there for the appointment. And all of a sudden, I have this credit on my account that I don't know where it came from because I haven't been to the office in 3 months. Where'd this credit come from? And then she goes, "Well, I don't know how much the credit is for, but we're just not going to charge you for this visit today or whatever." Okay. All right, fine, sure, whatever. I don't have to pay any money. That works for me. So then the nurse brings me back. She's taking my vitals. Get on the scale. Um, and I'm actually down. It's the lowest weight I've been in the doctor's office since I started this whole TTC process. So, yay, right, for that. So, then I'm sitting down so she can take my blood pressure, and she's got my chart open. It's like folded open, right? So both sides are open, and I'm noticing a letter from United Healthcare. Like, it's a long letter, just a bunch of words, right? No tables or anything like that. And I said, "Oh, is that my pre-auth?" And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Is that my pre-auth right there? I see a letter from the insurance." And she goes, "Oh, I don't know what that is." And then she closes my chart. And I guess I'm nervous about being in the office. I didn't have an initial reaction to her just saying, "Oh, I don't know what that is." So I didn't really try to follow up on it, right? Because in reality, she could have just glanced at it real fast and then just told me what it was, right? She didn't have to say, "Oh, I don't know what that is." Okay, that was suspicious. So I left it alone. I left it alone. So then, I go in for the office. So the doctor's not there, which happens a lot. The doctor's not there when you come in. He's probably doing some kind of procedure or something, right? And so he wasn't there. And the office is small and the walls are thin. I heard when he came in because his office is right next to the room that she put me in. And it took a while for him to come in to the room with me. So he comes into the room with me. We're having our discussion, and I ask him about the pre-auth. And I'm like, "Oh, do you know if the pre-auth has come back?" And he goes, "No." And I'm like, "No, it didn't come back?" Or, "No, you don't know if it's come back or not." And he just says, "I don't know anything about that." Now, if the pre-auth came back, it would be sitting in my chart, right? Which is sitting in front of him. He didn't even bother to look at the chart. This is something I'm recalling after the fact because now I'm putting all the little pieces together. Okay. So, I'm going, okay. No, I don't know anything about that. All right. And I'm trying to work it out in my brain, but there's so much going on. And I just feel like I've got so much on my mind that I just didn't read a whole lot into it initially. Um, Now, you know, you tack on the fact that all of a sudden now there's some state mandate that I got to get my BMI under 35. And the reality with that is, if that's been the state mandate, why didn't he mention this in August when we were talking about where my weight needed to be for me to start IVF? Why hasn't 35 always been the goal? That's why I'm not buying the 35 bit. And he even told me that he had done a couple of um, women under local anesthesia for the egg retrieval. And I asked him, I said, "Is that because they didn't want to go under, or because they didn't fit the guideline?" And he goes, "Oh, because they didn't fit the guideline. I think their BMI was like 37 or 38, is what he tells me." And I'm like, mm-hmm, right. So, um, so yeah. So that's essentially what's happened. And then he schedules You know, he writes the order for the blood work that was missing, and he says I should have the endometrial cavity check next week. I mean, interesting that you want to have it next week, considering that IVF is being pushed off to May. Why schedule the endometrial cavity check right away? I mean, we've got time to schedule that, right? He's like, oh, we can do that next week. I want you to come in on Wednesday. And I'm just like, I think I was just so excited that he was moving forward with something that it just didn't dawn on me that there was something incredibly strange about how all of this was going down. And so, you know, now that I've had the time to think and absorb and sort of put these little pieces together, I know for a fact that I was being bamboozled by him, by the nurse for sure, and maybe even the receptionist. I believe the whole office just lied to me yesterday. Um, so, I said, you know, if that pre-op comes back, you know, approval denied, insurance would send me a letter, right? But I don't get my mail every day. So, the friend that I was talking to on the phone was just basically saying, well, maybe you should go get the mail. And then I was already comfortable, you know, as far as, you know, being dressed for bed and, you know, or just being dressed for being in the house for the rest of the day. So, I didn't want to go out, but I started continuing my search to find out this about the state mandate. And then something said, you know, just go into your health insurance portal and see if the pre-auth, if those documents, if you can see them in there. So that's what I did. And lo and behold, there were 2 new documents in my portal. And both of those documents, as far as my portal is concerned, were dated January 26th and January 27th. And the one with the 26th date said letter of approval. So that right there, I knew immediately was my pre-auth and that it was approved. I didn't know what the second letter was. So I opened it up and my letter of approval said I was approved for follicle puncture for oocyte retrieval. So any method, sperm isolation, complex prep, for example, Percol gradient, albumin gradient for insemination or diagnosis with semen analysis, embryo transfer intrauterine, assisted embryo hatching, microtechniques, any method, and then assisted oocyte fertilization, microtechnique less than or equal to 10 oocytes. I believe that is the ICSI. It doesn't say ICSI, but that's what it sounds like, ICSI. Since it is microtechnique for oocyte fertilization, so that would have to be ICSI, because if not ICSI, they're just, you know, throwing the sperm in there and letting them do their thing. So it seems like insurance will pay for ICSI as well. What's not on here is any like PGS or PGT testing or whatever. So that's my approval. The second letter is actually a denial letter. What was that denial letter for? The cryopreservation. So remember I just mentioned that the nurse said, oh no, nothing's come back on the pre-auth, but I do know that they rejected the cryopreservation. Now, the cryopreservation had the date of the 27th. Now, that's the date in the portal. The letters actually have dates of the January 24th and January 25th. Either way, they came in a day apart, okay? So, no matter what, I talked to the nurse on the 30th. If you knew on the 30th that I had been rejected for cryopreservation, then you knew on the 30th that I had been approved for the IVF procedures. But I didn't ask her if the pre-auth had come back. She volunteered that information. So she basically spoiled the entire plan, whatever plan there was. She spoiled the entire thing. by telling me about the cryopreservation thing. Um, if there was a plan to just not tell me because he wants to bamboozle me into losing some more weight before going forward with this, because they didn't know that um, I wanted to take a break when I walked into the office that day. They didn't know that. And he, I believe this was a conversation that he had with me. I believe they knew that my pre-op had come back. There was a preconceived effort to not tell me that the pre-op had come back, which I am taking some serious issue with. Because I don't understand why you wouldn't just be upfront with me. I'm a reasonable person, you know? I'm a total reasonable person. Why wouldn't you just be upfront with me about my pre-auth? And this is not a smart plan anyway, because you have to know at some point I'm going to see the approval letter and I'm going to see the dates on it. You have to know that I can find out. I don't have to find out about my approval through you. So why lie? Why lie? I don't get that. Why lie? At any rate, I needed to rant about this with you guys, because this is my experience. And again, got to be an advocate for yourself. You got to know what's going on. You have to find your own avenues for information. And sometimes the things that people tell you are not true because they have other agendas. I don't know what his agenda is, other than he really wants me to lose more weight. And he's trying to bamboozle me into that. So instead of just telling me that my pre-auth has come back, why not just tell me that it came back, it was approved, but I really want you to lose some more weight. This is kind of ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, my pre-auth expires in April, which means they'll actually, for me to do this in May, they're actually going to have to resubmit the pre-auth now that this is being pushed out to May instead of March. Because, see, I got this pre-auth started in January in preparation for March. But now they're going to have to submit the pre-auth again in order to do it in May. So anyway, since they have to submit again, I'm going to make sure that a code for PGS testing or something is in the next pre-auth. So I know whether they'll pay for that or not, given my advanced maternal age, right? But I don't know what I want to do yet, given this information. I don't want to call and fuss anybody out just yet. I haven't decided how I'm going to approach the doctor about this blatant lie and abusal of my trust. I said in my last video that I like him, I trust him, but doing things like this doesn't make me trust you. It doesn't make me trust you at all. So, I don't know what I want to do yet. I don't know if I should just look for another physician, give him a chance to explain, fuss him out, and let him know, because at the end of the day, he's my GYN. Do I need to find another doctor? Because now I can't trust him. I need to find another doctor to be my GYN too. I don't know what to do yet. I don't know what to do yet. But I'm not happy about this. I don't know what to do yet, but I am not happy about this at all. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This certainly does not decrease my stress in this process. It certainly does not. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'm going to get out of here and head to my hairdresser. We'll continue this conversation, and I'll let you know what I come up with another time. Alrighty. Talk to you guys later. Bye.